One thing that many of us should understand, and unfortunately it's not told to us, and it's not told to us on purpose, is that whatever we do, whatever practical experience we have, or whatever hikmat amali and act that we do, whether it be in school, even education, whatever it may be, it is based on a philosophy, on an idea, on a way by which a person wants you to think and wants you to act.
Our kids growing up in maybe in America or the United Kingdom or any country in Europe, they sort of become, they go far away from the religion. And we see, some of our children might be spoiled or doing drugs or, generally not interested in religion.
That we had a lot of wives. Now, whatever you say, and there are reasons for this. There are reasons for this. We should not look at it in a negative way or the way that modern men look at marriage.
Yeah.
It's very different from what modern men look at marriage. Looking into the hikmi side of things and understanding the place of marriage, as I tried to delineate. And you see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you look at it in this regard, you'll see it's a very, very different picture.
Hawza billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome to another episode of Faraj Podcasts, brought to you from the holy city of Qum. In this podcast, we aim to bring teachers and students from the Hawza and discuss topics whose issues we might be struggling for in our communities, whether it's Shia or Muslim communities in general. And so a very important topic that we face as Muslims living in the West, or even this problem is even plaguing the East, is the issue of family life in Islam. And so we thought, why not, sort of invite one of our teachers, brothers and friends. And with me, I would like to introduce my guest today, Sheikh Yasir Ibrahim, who has been studying in the Hawza for many years. He's also a teacher, and at the same time, he has his own family. So inshallah, we can benefit from his experience. So Sheikh Yasir, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, dear brother Zafar, and to all your viewers as well. It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank you so much. The thing is, especially when we look at issues like the LGBT, now from a religion, the perspective of Islam, mother, father, husband, wife, man, woman, when these two people enter into a relationship or an aqd or a marriage contract, and obviously as a man, I'm not allowed to marry any woman. I can't marry my mother, I can't marry my sister. And the Quran and the narrations specify certain women only that I'm allowed to marry. Now in today's day and age, this very definition has been challenged from different entities which you know better than me. And then another issue that comes into play is that when many of us we migrate to the West, or we might be children of immigrants, we have our own cultures, whether we come from India, Pakistan, or Khojas, etc. There is this challenge of culture, which sometimes is good. It can be a barrier at times. But when we see our children growing up, I've seen this personally, that our kids growing up in maybe in America or the United Kingdom or any country in Europe, they sort of become, they go far away from the religion. And we see, some of our children might be spoiled or doing drugs or, generally not interested in religion. So I wanted to start off by asking you that what is, the place of family life in Islam, from a Hikmi perspective, because I know you told me that philosophy, irfan is some of the areas that you've worked on. So, please enlighten us with this.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Again, thank you, Shukran Brother Zafar, for the invite again. And what you said is quite correct. We come, like for example, our own parents, my parents themselves migrated from, well, not my parents, my grandparents, rather their grandparents migrated from India at the time to go to South Africa, and then obviously from Pakistan to go to the UK. And obviously it's a culture shock at the beginning, new place, new culture. So one of the first things that many people want to do is assimilate. That, oh, we are here, we need to be like these people because we want to the the what should we call it, the fallacy of they must like us,
Yeah.
so that we are with them. This is another discussion for itself, the concept of assimilation, the concept of how do you integrate into a society. Is it necessary to do that? How do you do it? How much do you do it?
Yeah.
That's a whole discussion in itself. But the question that the way I want to enter into the discussion is a very important one, that it is not entered in many ways. People sometimes see that family is a completely cut off from a worldview. It is just a particular part of practical living.
Yeah.
It's not that. One thing that many of us should understand, and unfortunately it's not told to us, and it's not told to us on purpose, is that whatever we do, whatever practical experience we have, or whatever hikmat amali and act that we do, whether it be in school, even education, whatever it may be, it is based on a philosophy, on an idea, on a way by which a person wants you to think and wants you to act. It is based on it. And obviously, to just kind of divide it very generally into two, you have that particular philosophy that is divine, again with very loose definition of it, and that which is not divine, which also goes into the demonic or the satanic type of worldview and philosophy that you have. So sticking into these two brief definitions, if we want to look at family from a divine hikmi or philosophical or wisdom view, we need to understand that in order for the true place of family to be seen, we have to go on to the higher planes of reality and into even theoretical wisdom, hikmate ilmi, where we see in this particular thing, one of the first particular places where this is mentioned is in the Aristotelian breakdown of knowledge, the Aristotelian breakdown of philosophy. Just again, not to go too much into it, there are three particular branches that are in the theoretical part of it, the ilmi part of it, and three branches that are in the practical part of it. All of them, the other five, so you have six just generally, all five of them fall under metaphysics, philosophy. So again, so you understand that if, for example, that philosophy is demonic, the rest of it will be demonic. If philosophy is divine, the rest of it will be divine. So this is how important this particular matter is. Like I said, majority of us ignore this point. We do not see the worldview behind whatever we are doing. Yes, the person who engrossed us in it or has kind of put a border behind that particular mode of our existence or act or living, yes, they are being influenced by a particular philosophy, whatever that philosophy may be. Obviously, as we mentioned, generally it falls between one of these two. So here, leaving the not going too much in the theoretical side of things. So we have metaphysics, then you have mathematics, and you have physics. These are the theoretical ones. These three theoretical things play into the three practical ones. This is where we as human beings are normally concerned with. Those are our everyday lives. The first and most important one is ethics, akhlaq. How do I act with the relationships that I have between myself and God, myself and others, and myself and other creation. Whether creation be a tree, a plant, a stone, whatever it may be, an animal. People go on about human rights and they go on animal rights. But what is the philosophy behind animal rights? Are you just doing it for the sake of the animal, or is there a true divine philosophy behind it? This is a question you need to ask the WWF. What are you doing? Why are you doing it for? Are you just doing it for, recognition? What are you doing it for? There's a good story that I was once told by my teachers. I don't know if we'll have time. So there's a United Nations organization that does relief. I can't remember the exact name. It's a long name. So they came and had a 5-minute meeting with Ayatollah Al-Uzma Jawari Amali Hafadhahullah. He gave them 5 minutes.
Only 5 minutes.
He said, look, I have this time and this time is my lesson, and this another time is my lesson. So between my two lessons, I have 5 minutes. I can give you these 5 minutes. It's okay. So they accepted it. They go. So some Ayatollah Jawari students welcomed them in. They had their own translator. Obviously, United Nations. They had a very strong translator. So the teacher was called in just to check that the translator is translating properly into English. It's okay. So they go. So sitting in this room in the office. And obviously there's communication with the Ayatollah Jawadi students and this particular group. So Ayatollah Jawadi walks in, everybody respects him. Ayatollah Jawadi sits down. No introduction, he just starts. He says, what you are doing is no better than a plant. They look at him. What do you mean? He says, a plant, when it's injured, it just puts a bandage on it and gets on with it. It fixes itself. What are you doing other than what a plant does? All you're doing is fixing a wound. All you're doing is correcting a small error. You're not going further than that.
Yeah.
So what you are doing, you are stuck in just not even the animal sense. You are just a plant. Yeah. What you're doing is what a plant does. Yeah. So that itself, the point of this particular anecdote is to show that, look, there's a philosophy behind it. Your philosophy is on the level of a plant.
Yes.
It is not on the level of the divine, that you are supposed to take people higher, which you are not doing that. All you are doing is assisting them at the level of a plant. You are just doing what? You are feeding them, enabling them to grow.
Yeah.
That's it. It was, very, and these people always, this is United Nations looking at Ayatollah Jawadi like, okay, what are you saying? We've been doing this for many years, we just plants, we just trees. So, but this is important, the worldview that the great scholars like Ayatollah Jawadi Amul, Hafidhullah have is something that we should learn from, take from, and apply in our lives. So then again, so just to go back, those three we have theoretical, and the three practical, which has Akhlaq, and this is why I mentioned the story. Then you have the second one, which is family, which is known as domestics.
Okay.
Then you have the third one, which is civics, which is politics. So if you want to break it down in a nice way, the first one just deals with an individual. Me and myself, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
The second one is an individual, but a small society. In the house, yourself, your wife, your children. The third one is a number of different families together. And between these families, there's one person who ensures that one family doesn't stress or trespass on the rights of another family. Yeah. And that the rights of each family is in its place. So you say, okay, this is what this place of family is. The family itself is not just a thing that is outside of society. That what I do in my home is my own thing. No. In a true sense, the family is a place where a person who goes into society is trained to obey the laws of that society. Not even obey the laws of that society. Again, we look at it in a divine perspective. Better that society. That a person who is trained within a society, or rather a small society, which is the family, should be done in such a way where the larger family, which is the society at whole, benefits from that individual.
Yeah.
This is, again, like I said, this is the ideal, the hikmi part of it. That even in Islam, we have this, that, every single individual must ensure that the Islamic society is bettered. Where does it begin from? They say teaching begins at home. The first madrasa is at home. The first school is at home. So the place, in terms of the philosophical place of family, is a very important place. It's not something that we should take lightly. That the next generation of leaders of society begins from the home. I mean, for example, we see that certain protests were happening in different parts of the world for Gaza. One of the things that people are saying on the news is like, look, why is this important? Because these individuals who are going to university are going to be the leaders of society in the future.
Yeah.
And this is their particular roadmap. This is their particular worldview. So it's dangerous for our system. So you can see there again the importance of a philosophy, the importance of family. And just so to conclude, again, I spoke a lot, that the position of family is not just a particular thing that is, completely outside of a system. No, within a divine system, the family is actually the most important intermediate phase before, if you want to call this Madinatul Fadila, or this utopian society is built on the family. And it is the family that, in fact, enables such a society to be built.
Okay, Ahsan, that was really beautiful. Now, you mentioned before this that in relation to this particular topic, you have a story of Usman ibn Mahzun that you wanted to share with us, apart from the story mentioned earlier. So could you enlighten us with that and, hopefully let's see how this it applies to this particular topic.
So Usman, rahmatullah alayhi, was one of the companions of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and a very close companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. They're good to mention this as well, that there are certain enemies of the Shia, or enemies of Islam, in fact, who will use this particular event of this particular thing to try and show that, the Imam alayhi salam wasn't angry with certain individuals. He said, oh, look, he named his children this. This is again a Kalami discussion. Yes, the Imam named one of his son Uthman, but Imam himself says that I named my child Uthman because of my love for that companion, Uthman ibn Ma'zun. So Uthman was a very close companion of the Imam, was a very close companion of the Nabi, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. One of the early Shia, if you want to put it that. Again, what this means is a different thing altogether. We'll come to that maybe some other time. What it means that Shia during the time of the Nabi, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But this particular person, there's a narration that is narrated about him, that one day his wife went to the Nabi and complained about him.
Oh dear.
So he goes to the Nabi and complains about him. And he says, what is the problem? He always goes to the mountains and he does his own personal i'tikaf. He does his own thing and he leaves us. The Prophet calls him. He says, call him here. Again, we're cutting the story short. The Prophet calls him and he tells him, Uthman, what are you doing? What are you doing? So, no, I'm doing ibadah. I'm worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm doing i'tikaf, I'm fasting. He says, I spend time with my family. I spend time with my children. I eat. I do this. I eat meat. One of the things that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to him. He says, why are you not doing it? So Uthman looks and he says, okay. So the Nabi tried to show him that, look, there are other forms of ibadah as well. And one of the most important things of ibadah, again, looking into this particular concept of the hikmi part, that our individual nature or the akhlaq part of it, once we form a family, we cannot just stay on that level, on the individual level. It has to come and include other people. I have another story. Sorry, I have a lot of stories.
Bismillah, go ahead.
So,
we've got time.
There's a teacher of ours, he mentioned the story of Marhum Ayatollah Hassan Zadi Amali, rahmatullah alayh. So those who may not know, Ayatollah Hassan Zadi Amali was one of the great urafa of the modern era, a student of Allama Sha'rani, rahmatullah alayh, and the brother of Allama Tabi Sayyid Ilahi, rahmatullah alayh. And then these are individuals that, each of them need their own program to discuss them. So he had a particular person who came to him, one of his students or someone who was one of his, who maybe comes to him for advice. And he says to him, and whenever the teacher tells the story, it always brings a smile to my face. He says to me, Hajaga, Ustad, dear Allama, I want to do sayr and suluk. I want to do spiritual wavering. But my family doesn't allow me to do it. So every time I try to do it, they stop me. Or something happens and I can't do it. So Allama looks at him and says, sayr and suluk is not something that your family should stop you. It should be something that was done within your family. It's something that includes them.
Yeah.
It's not something outside of them.
Yeah.
So these are things that, unfortunately, some of us think that, we shouldn't do or we should do. No, in terms of ibadah, in terms of spending time with our family. There are many hadith from the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam regarding spending time with your wife, spending time with your children. I have my own personal advice from certain teachers and stuff. Maybe in our next episode we can mention some of those advices that were given, and some very beautiful advices as well. Inshallah, with regards to spending time with family, regards with how a person actually spiritually grows within that particular, and why this is the case.
Yeah.
Why is it that when a person is on an individual status, that's why you see that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, amongst the Anbiya, one of the reasons he's very high in nature or very high in ontological reality, one reason, because there are many other reasons, is that he had a lot of wives. Now, whatever you say, and there are reasons for this. We should not look at it in a negative way or the way that modern men look at marriage.
Yeah.
It's very different from what modern men look at marriage. Looking into the hikmi side of things and understanding the place of marriage, as I tried to delineate And you see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you look at it in this regard, you'll see it's a very, very different picture.
Okay. Could you shed more light on that? Because as you know, the Prophet, we say that he is the perfect man. He he manifests all those names and attributes of God to the highest level possible. So how about you sort of share a bit of advice on that, and let's see how we can go from there.
So the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as history tells us anyway, history obviously at times can be a bit distorted. But anyway, history tells us that at one moment in time, he had 9 wives at one time.
Yeah.
We had maybe some say between 14 to 16 different wives, but he had one particular moment, he had 9, which is one of what is known in the Kalami circles as the mushakhasat of the Nabi.
Yeah.
I mean, there were certain things that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam could do that no one else could do.
That means we're not allowed.
We're not allowed. No one else is allowed.
Yeah.
The Sharia doesn't allow it at all for anybody to do this besides the Nabi.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we say, okay, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in his essence, is different from me and you. Means he can do certain things that me and you can't. Yes, he's human being, but there are certain things within him that we were not given, and we must accept.
Yeah.
We must accept it. This is the point of doing taslim.
That
Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not saying it was chosen haphazardly. There were obviously reasons why the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was chosen. And that is, again, goes into higher philosophy and higher irfan, which we don't want to go into because it requires a lot of prerequisites and so on. But one of the reasons we can say is that because the Nabi had, if you look at it in a social perspective, that in order to create that particular surrounding where the Medina that had to be created, he had to bring people together.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that many historians say, and even certain mutakallimin, that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam didn't just marry anybody.
Yeah.
He chose particularly which type of person to marry.
Yeah.
Also remembering this, that when the Nabi was married to Bibi Khadija salamu alayha, he was married to nobody else.
Yeah.
And that's again another discussion in itself, that why at that particular time was he married to nobody else. Right? So not only was the Nabi important, also the person who he married was important. The capacity and the dharfiyah of that person must be looked at.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, we only look at the Nabi. No, but the person who married you, why not look at that person as well?
Yeah.
Did that person have the ability to cater for the needs of the Nabi, spiritually and physically, or not? Well, that's a whole discussion in itself. But in this particular moment, just looking at it from a social perspective, the Nabi chose who he wanted to marry in order for that Medina to grow, in order for that particular unity amongst the Muslim and the young Muslim community that had just come to kind of flourish. And we see the results of it, and we saw the results of it, and we see the results of it. That what the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was done out of pure wisdom.
Yeah.
And like we said, we should not look at the marriages of the Nabi as modern man looks at. Modern man looks at everything in a very negative light.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word here, on a very lustful light. No,
Okay.
it's nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. There are other reasons, but like I said, it goes into a bit higher level, which we don't want to touch in right now, inshallah.
Okay. So I see that unfortunately we've come to the end of this particular talk. But I hope inshallah we can definitely sort of come back again,
Inshallah.
and discuss this particular topic, and inshallah we can benefit from your presence itself. So dear viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you like this episode. Please do remember us on your duas, and like and subscribe to our channel, Faraj Media English. We have another one for kids as well, Faraj Kids. You can find that on YouTube. So like and subscribe to both of those. Hit the bell icon. If you have any comments, please post them down below. And inshallah, we shall join you again soon. Thank you so much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.